I think a lot of us think that getting old and aging, like, you're supposed to feel like junk. Like, you just slowly are supposed to start gaining weight. You're supposed to be, less sexual wellness. Like, at some point, it's supposed to completely go away. And I have this conversation with my father-in-law, actually, and it's so funny because, he's like, "Well, when you get older, it's just it's just not available," and he's not that old. And I was like, "Well, I know people that are in their 80s and their sexual relationship is still off the charts. Like, they're able to perform, like, they are healthy, they're vibrant," and he doesn't believe me. So I'm, like, trying to, like, send him this stuff, and I'm like, "You can feel vibrant at any age." Like, people are making full careers out of it. People are spending, upwards of $250,000 to enter into certain longevity programs, into increasing, like, health span and lifespan. So, I guess, is there a place where you are supposed to just feel like junk, or is that only supposed to kind of be right at the cliff before you fall off?
Yeah. I have so many ways to kind of explain this. But symptoms aren't the problem, they're the result of the problem. So, uh, uh, I was back in the day in the chiropractic office, they talked about life is like not like a light where you could turn the intensity of the light down. They call it a rheostat. That'll turn the light down. That's not how life is supposed to be. When you hit 50, are you going to accept that, oh, well, we're going to turn it down a little bit? You can't have as much fun or enjoy, and oh, more when you get to be 80 and off at 82 or something. So it's more like you're supposed to burn like a candle. A candle is the same brightness when you light it as when it goes all the way down to the bottom, the same brightness, that life energy and that life value and quality and things. So then it flickers and goes out, which would be fine with me. To die in your sleep's kind of what old people want. My mom again is 93, and visited her at Thanksgiving, and she talked to my sister and I and my brother-in-law. She and my wife was there, and she's like, I'm 93. I want one more boyfriend before I go. And I'm like, la 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 la. I don't, Mom, talk to them about, you know, I want out of this conversation. But yeah, 93, and just want one more boyfriend before I go.
Good for
And
her.
my dad died at 85, so it's been a while. And
Mm,
yeah, so I'm very pleased about that. And I'm married to someone much younger, and I could just say we work on everything and having it be good. And so you're not like that. Don't accept that. I'll get a little more scientific on it. There's a book by Roy Wolford, MD. He was the nutritionist. He teaches nutrition at University of Southern California, but he was the nutritionist for Biosphere, which were two experiments they did at the turn of the century where they put people into a bubble and they had to grow their own food as if you were on Mars. It was kind of like a Mars experiment. And he was the nutritionist responsible for the foods and things. So he wrote a book, Roy Wolford, called The 120-Year Diet. And in that book, he did amazing, like real experiments. He's kind of the modern day Francis Pottinger, mostly working with animals, but he wrote this book, 120-Year Diet, which this will make sense. So most people, you hear over the hill, right? That
mhm,
expression. You mentioned that kind of and your father-in-law, the over the hill thing. Well, when does that happen? When do
mhm.
you? Well, at 50, it didn't happen to me. I was still doing jujitsu at 64, and I got injured, so I couldn't continue. But I let some 23-year-old beat me up. But the funny thing is that he said that you should go up to about 40, and that's when catabolic anabolic starts to become a challenge to keep balance. If you can keep the catabolic breaking down and the anabolic balance, you should be able to go from 40 to 80 before the natural sort of degradation. No one gets out alive. We know
Mhm,
that, right? The body
mhm.
is going to break down. You're going to get catabolic to the point where you can't you lose all vital reserve. And so, but that shouldn't happen until you're about 80, according to Roy Wolford. And it's a great study. And I got 10 years to go before I find out.
Oh, that's amazing though. So if you are, let's say you're, I don't know, 50, anywhere in that range, that 50 to 80 range, and maybe you've been neglecting your health, your diet, your workout routine, and you feel like you are on the dimmer, like you are over the hill and that you are losing that light. Is there a way to go from that to getting back to the candle?
That's what we teach. That's what the labs and the natural protocols designed to just restore and return to balance. Now, everyone can get whacked. I just want to tell you things like that
Mhm.
happened in 2020 with the big C word thing. You know, that was unfortunate, and it taught us all that you're vulnerable.
Mhm.
Even a really healthy person can get whacked, but you can do things to mitigate, return to health, and try not to get it again. You know, like
Mhm.
just really try to keep. And I can recall periods for 10 years where I never even had a cold. Again, you do get old. Remember, the catabolic anabolic balance is harder for some people than others. Genetic potential does come into it.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't, you can't change your parents or grandparents, but you can do things to mitigate. The DRESS is the only way that I know, and it's proven with tens of thousands of people to have worked.
Now, is it more complicated if the issue is autoimmune versus, something that's like maybe dietary or that can be fixed with just meditation, stress regulation, something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Good. That adds a layer of complexity. It's I don't know if this sounds goofy, but it's very complex. If you study the human body, you'll never be done. You could
Mhm.
read every scientific article from now till next Christmas. Next Christmas, you'll be 50 years behind in your reading. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
you can't read enough. It's very complex, but it doesn't have to be complicated for the average person. And so, Einstein said, he's a pretty smart guy. He said, if you can't explain it to a 5-year old, you don't know it well enough,
Mhm.
whatever your topic is. So, I don't have any 5-year old clients right now, but I do try to break it down and speak in a language where people can get it and apply it to their own lives. And so the answer is, you absolutely can get in control. Remember, that was my very first concern when I switched from environmental and conservation to health and wellness. It was what's going on with these people? Like why are they putting their health in someone else's hands and having lost that control? And they basically had their ladders on the wrong wall. They're looking to medical, which is a disease treatment model, and so that's the ladder. Well, first, I'll go to a doctor and you get the little prescription, and pretty soon you climb that ladder. Well, the next thing up is surgery. After that, it's chemo, and after that, so you don't want to have your ladder on that wall. That's the disease wall.
Mhm.
And there was no prominent wall for me to get our clients and patients onto. We had to develop that wall. That became the lab work, running, 5 labs in every person and following the dress protocol and adding in the health coaching. We were doing that before the word health coaching was even heard of. No one mentioned it. There was personal coaching and executive coaching. You didn't hear health coaching until about 12 years ago. And yet we've been doing it for 12 years already.
Mhm.